So welcome to Sunrising at Work, Forecasting the Road Ahead. We are in session 3. I'm going to continue. My name is Leora, she, hers. I'm the project director for the STAC BHSSA. And I'm going to continue to invite you to share who you are, where you are, and one quote that is anchoring you lately. Feel free to do a scroll up and also throw some emojis at colleagues, especially Rena's niece, who is offering some really helpful wisdom in the chat. I just exhaled when I saw this visual slide. I'm going to remind us, as always, to find one of these things to do in this moment, to find a moment of peace. So I am actually truly going to silence my cell and turn it over. If there's maybe one browser window that you might want to close to be here now, beautiful. Although if even me saying close a browser window activates a trauma response, don't do it. Find another way. So let's find moments of settling and connecting. It's really good to see everyone's faces in the house today. Okay. I'm going to just say very quickly, we're so happy that you're part of this series. If you're new, we know that there are some teams that are still hiring for Phase 4 Sunrising meaning launching. So if you're new to us, we're the Behavioral Health Student Support Act statewide technical assistance coordinator, and we work with 4 technical coaching teams, Tehama, Imperial, and Placer counties, and Imperial has two TCTs, and we work all together to support grantees in this work to do the work well and do the work with well-being, both and. This is just a visual of who's holding the conversation today. So I'm going to ask Nikki to do a little wave. If you have any tech support that you need, you can ping Stephen, and you can also drop a chat to any of us at any point. We are going to be recording today's session, and we're also going to be posting all of the material for the whole series and today in our STAC BHSSA hub, which is on a platform called the Mighty Networks, which Angela will be sharing more about later today. So you'll get everything. And if anyone heard that and went, oh my goodness, that's more things that I have to do, we're also going to be sending that in a follow-up email so you can get everything you need from today and from the whole series. Also to support your colleagues who may not have been able to come to session 1 or 2. Which we know that happens. And Nikki just dropped the deck for today in chat, so you can download that for your own use as well. Thank you, Nikki. Okay. Just wanting to give some celebration and recognition of all the different categories of work in the counties who are holding this launch work. We know that some of you have had a year of already Sunrise, and we're meeting you kind of a 9-month in, and some of you just started your contract work for Phase 4. And so we're all in different places, and yet still there's always room for us to congeal and launch together. Someone once offered this really lovely metaphor that launching any program or grant initiative exactly mirrors child development. So if there are any early childhood develop humans in the room, or if there are any people who have little ones, like I do, I have a 2.5-year-old, or if there are any people in the room who were little ones, all of us, you might remember that first year of raising a child has really different developmental and caregiving and care raising needs as a leader and as a manager and as a team and as a community than year 2 or year 3. So I just welcome you to kind of take a pause moment. If you're in month 4, for example, like where does that map on? What are some similarities or parallels with kind of child raising a 4-month-old, if your project was 4 months old, or raising a 9-month-old? And where might you see some metaphors in your leadership and in your grant management and project management? We ourselves at STAC are in our 8-month. So we're kind of maybe we're having some attachment moments. I don't know. I don't know what the parallel will be if I applied it to ourselves, but here we are. Okay. So session 3, we're in what are we hopeful for? What are we fearful? What fears might arise when we think about raising a 4-month-old or 9-month-old or having 3 years to hold this work together. But most importantly, today we're going to do a very quick rewind. I'm actually just going to go straight. Pause me. I'm going to go straight to the agenda. Today we're going to have a moment to rewind back to session 2 weeks ago, where we talked about collaboration and communication. And then we'll have breakout rooms to workshop our own adventure. So we'll have a breakout room for modeling and visualizing our work that we talked a lot about in session 1. We'll have a room for collaboration and communication to deep dive into session 2's content. We'll have a room to talk about that team performance model that many of you love so much and you want to get more nitty-gritty with it. And we're also going to have a breakout room for that 4th P in POP: purpose, outcomes, process, and people. We'll have a 4th P to us to really think about how are we taking care of ourselves and our people in this moment. And I want to flag, and we'll talk about this a little bit when we get to breakout time, that there might be some of you who actually just want quiet time with yourself or a colleague in your grant work to really roll up your sleeves and dig in. And so we can create that breakout room for you and put you there too. And then we'll close and talk about what's next. So that will be our flow for today. Okay. I'm going to invite us like we have done every session. It's not advancing for me, Stephen, so maybe you can help me. Okay, there we go. There's our squirrel. I'm going to invite us into a 2-minute needs resourcing moment. That's screens off. You'll hear some music, go to the restroom, send an email, download the slides, get a snack. Or just have 2 minutes of quiet, maybe even look and stare outside and not think about anything. But do whatever you need to do so that when we come back, we can be focused, grounded, and settled. And we'll come back at 10:13. Welcome back. I invite you to turn on camera to signal you're back in the room. You're also always welcome to share with us in chat what you did to get your needs met so we can attune to each other. Are we all dehydrated? Are we all crunchy? What do we need to do? You saw me rolling my shoulders multiple times. But I also, during these break, I read the quotes that you're dropping in chat. I love that one from Vera. Great things are never done by one person. They're done by a team. And from Sonia, people will forget what you said. People will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. And from Anna, you'll have a bad time, but it'll always wake you up to the good stuff you weren't paying attention to. Good quotes in here, y'all. Good quotes. Okay. Now that we're settled in, we're going to invite you into a moment. This connects session 2 into session 3. So at the end of session 2, even if you weren't with us, this is a way for us to calibrate all conversation. This is a moment to do 2 things. One is to have a moment to ground and connect with a new colleague in phase 4 work, which we're constantly going to do because we have 3 years together, all together as phase 4s. And 2, to connect sessions 2's content into session 3. So there are 5 choices for you to choose. What values of yours connect to this work, right? That's a thread from session 1. If this work, your phase 4 grant work, comes alive, if it really does what you said you wanted it to do or what you inherited through an RFP, what would grow and shift in Alameda? What would grow and shift in Siskiyou? What would grow and shift in Placer County? How would you feel? Where would you be? What data would change? What do you need to feel efficacious and supported in this work? How might you preserve your own well-being? And what might get in the way from leading with team cohesion and well-being at the forefront? You also might go rogue and just say hi to someone and check in about the quote you shared, whatever you want to do. We're going to break out into pairs of 2 or 3. This is not an invitation where you all have to share the same question. You might find one question that you're really needing. You know yourself best. You're really needing for your own leadership in this moment. I'm going to invite Nikki to drop those questions in the chat before we move into breakout so you can check them out. And the always reminder is if you're not in a space to engage in breakouts for whatever reason that you know best, feel free to stay in the main room, and we might reshuffle some folks to make sure you have someone in the chat to talk to. But feel free to stay in the main room. That's always an option. Okay. We're going to come back in a good old 7 minutes. 7 minutes. In dyads or triads, 7 minutes. So we're going to do a quick rewind to session 2. Can I just get a signal in chat if you can put the number 2 if you were with us in session 2, and put the number 0 if you were unable to be with us in session 2. Okay, cool. Thank you. Okay. So kind of half and half. So here's the deal. So session 2, and remember that Tina will be leading a breakout to do a little bit of rewind into session 2. But session 2, we unpacked the collaboration continuum. We unpacked it as a visual to help us get really clear about how we want to experience relationships within our county, within our team, within our division, within our school districts, within any partner, throughout any type of phase 4 grant work at Promise Sustainability, Universal Screening, and other priorities. So I'm just going to pause to see for the folks who put in the number 2, if anyone in chat or out loud, if you want to do a here's what really lingered and lasted from that conversation before we go there for a quick language cohesion. What lingered and lasted from session 2 for any of you folks who put number 2 in the chat? Or folks might be like, that was 2 weeks ago, Leora. 7,000 things have happened since then. Okay, so let's all come back to this very. So we have a moment of shared language before we move into deeper work. Okay, so this is the collaboration continuum that we explored in session 2. And I'm going to invite you to just take a quiet moment, and this is a little bit of a mini practice that we did in session 2, to take a quiet moment and find where you might describe the way that your phase 4 BHSSA grant work right now is living in this continuum. And it's really a way of thinking about primarily 2 partnerships between education and behavioral health, or between 2 entities, between one grant and another grant, between maybe your phase 3 grant and your phase 4 grants. But where might you be? And if you, from back to session 2, a lot of us talked about that we really were kind of landing in this networking, coordinating, and wanting to get to a cooperating, collaborating. So that bridge. The intention behind this visual is that, again, it's not a diagnosis, right? It's a leadership check-in moment for us to have really clear language, and maybe even an exhale. That oftentimes we're using the words collaboration, and it involves a lot of work structurally, culturally, and actually we might scale it back to be more in a networking relationship or coordinating relationship, and that will be a kind of right-sizing move for the way that we want to be in our communication or in our work with a partner. So it's a way for us to actually not set ourselves up for being in conflict with a partner, a school district, a CBO, ourselves, and to actually get really right-sized with what do we need for the work and what do we need in the context that we're set up to do. Okay. I'm going to pause to see if there are any ideas or percolations that come up with this before we offer opportunities to do other kinds of work. Okay. Okay. Anyone wanting to put in chat maybe on August 20th, this is how I would describe where we are right now in our phase 4 work with how we're approaching relationships. Cool. Okay, maybe Anna, would you be open to sharing out loud what you just put in chat?
So I just was thinking about the different slides, and there was diamonds and triangles, and the evaluation that was happening, where some people thought they were way further along on this continuum and the others didn't. But there's got to be an openness to communicating in order to even engage and doing that activity itself. I think of just having people say, where do you think we're at on this? And then seeing, the differing perspectives that are happening, and then just using that as a platform to be able to like launch the work from where it really is. Maybe it's in between those two perspectives and that kind of thing.
That's right. Beautiful. So Anna's referring to this practice that I was sharing, that I was facilitating this kind of conflict, not conflict mediation, but some sort of repair between a behavioral health agency and a Department of Education who were just in like constant awkwardness on Zooms, and had folks actually share where they thought they were, where they wanted to be. And what we discovered is that the two entities were coming together thinking really different expectations for how they were in collaboration and how they were in relationship. And even just airing that out helped really bridge and fuel the way that they were coming to learning together. So I'm going to offer, if this kind of tickles your brain or tickles your interest, I'm going to offer that this might be a good cue for the workshop breakout room that you go into for number 2 with Tina. Tina's going to spend a lot of time here, but this was mainly session 2. Really understanding the different ways, and then avert your eyes because I'm walking through right here, but the different ways that we should be in relationship with others, and to get really clear about what we need and what we can do. That's the important part. What we can do for our staffing, for our funding, for the cultural context of where we're at. So some of us, that just might be like a moment of, okay. So throughout this whole series, in your feedback and from the get-go, you have said we want time to actually unpack and do and work on all the models and all the words and all the diagrams that we've offered in this whole series. So colleagues, we're about to move into a luxurious 30-minute workshop time, not 6-minute, not 7-minute, not getting interrupted, 30-minute workshop time and workshop space to deep dive into specific practices from this series. So if you would like to get into the visualizing our work, the modeling from session 1, and maybe play around with logic modeling or 5 bold steps or the game plan, that's with me in room 1. If you're interested in unpacking more of the collaboration and communication practices and continuum, that's in room 2 with Tina. Some of you really, really love that team performance model that gives us a way to think about how might we support our team members and then project launch. And that will be with Angela in room 3. And then in room 4, this connects back to Matt's point around our preserving our well-being check-in. If you are also interested in a space to really talk about that last P in POP, right? Purpose, outcome, process, people. Room 4 will be facilitated by Oriana. If none of those are interesting and you actually would like your own county or grant or team workspace, stay back in the main room and ask Nikki and Stephen to set up a 5th or 6th room just for plaster team, or just for if you want to do teamwork all together. And Nikki will also drop our hub link, and you can get all the resources from session 1, 2, including the template for all the different models. Okay. It was really meant to be a fresh choice experience of what it can look like to launch or to grow a thing. So I really want to hone in on, for everyone in this room, if you are, take a moment or have a space with your team or yourself to write down here are all the things that I want more of. I want to go back and get a second plate of. I want to spend more time with, because that's what we, as your STAC and the TCTs, that's what we're here for. That's what we're here for, is to have more personalized coaching and spaces. So if some of you are meeting with partners, you want to help with logic modeling, you want to help think about how to run a meeting, talking about your communication norms, that's what we're here for. Let's do it. Let's do it all together. Now, the only thing people are going to remember from this entire session is fresh choice. But that was my own fault. I did that to myself. Okay. I'm gonna shift us ahead, and here we are into close. We're into close. I'm going to actually move us, Nikki. We're going to move straight into a moment where we get to just have 3 minutes of sharing how today felt for you, with the intention of really putting in, here's where I would like more support, or my team needs more support, or here's where I could even offer more support to other peers, so that we can gather them and we can ensure that we can support you after today. So I'm going to invite everyone for a quiet, cameras off, 2-minute, maybe even a little music, to share how today felt. What worked? What do you need more from? And then we'll come back together and talk about what's coming next.
And wanted to kind of share what comes next after this community of practice. I've been so resourced this past few times that we've met, and so excited that we're getting to know each other in that space as well. But guess what? We get to know more about each other in the next coming months. And so there's a couple of different things I'm going to share. One is the way that you can continue communicating with us. I know Leora shared this in the beginning, where the Phase 4 grantee calls, you can contact us a couple of different ways. One is either you can invite us to an existing team, because I know there's so many different meetings that are happening. So please invite us to any of the existing team meetings that you're holding right now. The other way is that we can actually reach out to you and schedule a monthly or quarterly call, right? So if there's a specific need or connection that you're looking for, we are very happy to make this connection as well. And then the second way that you can connect with us is that Nikki's going to place this in the chat in just a second, but you can also request TA. And then what we do is internally, we'll assign a team that can best fit the need for that particular TA request. So those are a couple of different ways that you can connect with us for the next phase. The other piece too is that we're going to be launching the communities of practice for categories 1 through 3. That's coming up. And in September and October, we're all going to be hosting an orientation for screening and supporting Universal Screening Learning Collaborative. These are the dates. So if you fall within this category, we're going to be placing that information in the chat. And then also extending the effort, sustainability, community of practice. Here's the link for you to also register for that particular community of practice as well. And partnering for Promise at Promise Youth Grantee Communities of Practice. And there's a link there as well. The other thing that we also want to learn is if for the other category, if you would like to just share with us what you would like to learn more about. If you want your own community of practice, we're also happy to coordinate that as well. So you don't have to remember all of this information. We're going to be sending this information via email in a nice organized way, so that way you can capture all this information and register for the community of practice that you're connected to.
Just to pop in one moment, that for the sustainability COP, that's really for your QIS coordinators or their kind of role alike or team members who are filling in for that role. So that community of practice is really specific, and all the descriptions are in the links as well.
Yes, thank you, Leora. And then I do not have access to moving to the next slide. If we can go to the next slide. And then also we have more events coming up for you. And so the next one is the quarterly call. Please join us on September the 3rd from 1 to 3. The link is going to be in the chat pretty soon, where Tehama is going to be sharing or having a teach-in around data, telling your story through data. So please join us. We're also going to be hosting a virtual learning event, building and bridging strengthening cross-partnerships. And our subject matter expert, Michael Lombardo, will be sharing that particular virtual learning event. And then through December, there's another opportunity for you to join us on youth suicide prevention and postvention, where myself and Tina will be launching this particular event as well. So please join us. And on the next slide, Nikki and Leora have already talked about this as well, but this is another great way for you to connect with us. We place all of our information into the Grantee Hub, and you already have that information in the chat as well. So please join us and connect with each other as well, get resourced. This is where we put all the information for any of our events as well. So please feel free to join as well. And I'm going to share it now back to Leora to take us to the end of our Sunrise Community of Practice.
Well, thank you. Thanks, Angela. I want to go back to the what comes next and see if there's any clarifying questions or additions. Just take a pause moment to see if anyone in the house, there's anything that you'd like to ask or clarify. There's a lot of information. Where can you access the recordings? Great. All the recordings are uploaded in our hub, and Nikki can even drop the specific Sunrise COP link. Also on the hub, there are 4 specific channels, each that the technical coaching teams run: data collection, sustainability, partnerships development, and implementation. So you can access each one of your TCTs in that way as well. But they're all uploaded, and we'll also be sending out the recording and the material tomorrow or today via Constant Contact. So that can come to you as well. Okay. All right. I want to just offer the reason why before we close, but the reason why other priorities category 4 doesn't have its own community practice is because there's so many different approaches in each grantee that binding you was a little bit different than binding the universal screening, sustainability, and at promise youth folks. And still also, if you're like, hey, I'm not interested in being left out, I would like to gather and coordinate beyond the quarterly calls, please let us know. No problem. We'll set something up, and we're happy to bring everyone together and support each other in the work. Okay, so I'm going to offer this last quote and exhale. So we started today with dropping quotes of inspiration and grounding. This is our 3rd session. We started in July. I just want to offer this quote: every single wing beat shifts the air. And just take a moment in chat as we integrate and close out. Just in a kind of wondrous moment, how does this quote connect to the learning and to the learning of this series? Like, where are you making meaning or tying connection between anything that we've talked about or held together, all 3 sessions, and this moment? Even a single wing beat shifts the air. I'm going to invite you in chat to share a moment of integration or a moment of connection. And I'll offer that our team, when we're thinking about the enormity of what you are all holding, in session 2, we opened with what is August bringing up for you, and everyone felt like the month of August just felt very full and compact and stressed and crunchy and needing some Zoom breaks. The reminder is that this work can feel potentially overwhelming or maybe even a little freezing. And small moves of leadership connected to your values, as Christina was putting in the chat, to your why. Small moves of visualizing the work. Small moves of finding ways to simply describe and share what you're doing, how you're doing, for whom you're doing. Those can be shifts. Every single wing beat shifts the air. Even asking for support, that can shift the air. So on behalf of our team, we're going to close with 2 minutes for hopefully a shoulder roll or a hydration or whatever needs you need before your next thing. And just really, really feel, all of you, that you are these butterflies in the air right now, shifting your own teams, your own counties, or the work in each of your own way. We're really looking forward to continuing that shift together. Thank you so much. We'll see you on September 3rd for our quarterly full BHSSA call. Go get some water. We're also going to hang out in case anyone has any after party questions, thoughts. But mostly we want you to get water and stretch and have a break.